GEANT. And first, I would like to give the floor of the representative of Bulgarian Academy of Science, which is our host at this event. This is Professor Ivan Georgiev. Please.
Thank you, Professor Trifonov. Dear colleagues, dear guests, for me it's a real pleasure to welcome you here at the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences. We are very happy to host this GEANT event here. It's clear that services of GEANT are really, really important, not only for the academical committee or people from academy, but for the whole country. For me and I think for all of us will be very interesting to understand more about the structure and services of GEANT, and I hope that we will have one very nice event. You're welcome.
Thank you for Professor Ivan Georgiev. Professor Ivan Georgiev streaming this event from the infrastructure of Bulgarian Academy of Science to the internet on YouTube channel of the Bulgarian Academy of Science. That's it's good that all the universities around our country, Bulgaria, is connected and can participate and see what happened with GEANT, with our national research and education network in Bulgaria. It's very good, and thanks to Professor Ivan Georgiev. Second floor for opening this event, Info Day of GEANT, I would like to take the floor of the Chief Executive Officer, CEO of GEANT. This is Liz, please.
Thank you. Also, a big thank you to Bren, but also Professor Georgiev to host this event. It's an honor to be here. From our side, I'm very eager to hear what you think about the day, so I hope you'll give a lot of feedback to our staff here. But GEANT is a pan-European infrastructure network, but it's also much more than that. Of course, we have many services for all our members, and in the end, for all the European citizens via every national research and education network. Here, it is BREN. But we are also a human network. We are a community. And today, I hope you'll get the understanding of how we are a community. And BREN is very much a part of this community. They are a long-standing member and contributor to all the work we do in Europe as GEANT and our members. We have and we are a unique structure in that every one of our members contribute to our work, and every member is benefiting from the work. You'll hear much more about this during today, both from GEANT, but also our community members are here to talk to you today. And I hope that you'll have some very good conversations and be as enthusiastic as I am about the work we all do together. And I believe this will benefit not only Bulgaria, but all of Europe. So today we will discuss discuss how to collaborate in a time where we need it more than ever. We have a time of geopolitical tensions that are risking to fragment the world. And I think now is more important than ever that we, as Europe, stand together and collaborate and strengthen each other. So I will send you my best wishes for a day full of insights, of inspiration, and encouragement to continue the excellent work that BREN and many others are doing together with GEANT to benefit not only Europe, but actually the rest of the world, because as research and education, we stand together and united. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. I know from Liz that today at the morning she had a meeting with the president of Bulgarian Climate Science, Professor Slavcheva, and the result is very good to collaborate with GEANT and Bulgarian Climate Science and all the universities in our country. With this, the official part of our event for opening is at the end. And now we continue with the topic presentations. First topic will be GEANT overview. The presenter will be Marina Di Giorgi. Marina Di Giorgi is Partner Relations Manager at GEANT, focused on the southeastern region of Europe, which Bulgaria is included. Marina, the floor is yours.
Hey, that is becoming official now. Yes, thanks for having us here, and thanks for running this GEANT Info Day here at this impressive venue, really, of the Bulgarian Academy of Science, and with the kind hospitalities of Bren, the NREN. I will just follow up really from this, our GEANT CEO started in saying what GEANT is, and then we'll go a little bit more in detail, so what GEANT can offer in terms of services, most importantly, in terms of human networks, really, and what does it mean for us to be the pan-European network infrastructure, but human factor as well in what we call it the innovators community of Europe. So GEANT is an association of members, is the European National Research Education Network. We support 38 NRENs in Europe, plus one, which is Nordonet, and is a mini GEANT of 5 other NRENs in the Nordic countries. We interconnect research and education communities worldwide, and we'll see that how we did it, how we do it, how this has become part of our texture, really, of our nature. Please bear with me, I have a very Italian thick accent, so sometimes my tongue slips a bit. And we manage a portfolio of advanced research and education services, which hopefully provides to research and education community in Europe to do good work, basically, for Europe. But as I said, let's go a little bit back. What is really an NREN? What is a National Research and Education Network? It is the organization that operates the network nationally. And when we talk about network, is actually the infrastructure overriding, supporting, providing to research institutions, university, and in some countries also to schools. It has a different setup. It can be a consortium, it can be a mandate organization from the government, it can be an NGO. We don't interfere really with the setup in country, but what we do, what we want to make sure is that the end users, so researchers, students, if that's the case, get the same services all across Europe. And here you can see a bit of an overview of all GEANT members, and you can find out more on the GEANT website. And here are the 2 representatives for Bulgaria. So Bren is the NREN in-country in Bulgaria. And Roman, who just introduced me, and Radoslav is sitting here if you would like to get in touch, if you don't know them yet. We do interconnect research and education communities worldwide. So if GEANT is the regional for Europe, pan-European network, then we provide network services, community opportunities to Bren. Then they distribute to all universities in the country. The same model applies worldwide. So Clara works in Latin America, Ubuntu-Net Alliance is in the Western Africa, and so on. So every continent, really every part of the world is, can use a very reliable, resilient, and dedicated network for research and education. We do this by supporting European priorities as well. So we connect, we access, we provide access really, and we transform. And I'd like to use these headlines here to basically explain how GEANT connects, provides access, and transform. But much better than me, my colleagues as well will dive into all of this chapter of GEANT. My colleague Ariella from the community program will tell you a little bit more how the community come together and work together in all sorts of different areas of the GEANT expertise and the GEANT community. Eva will give you an overview of the cloud services available through GEANT to all entrants. We have Casper here from the what we call trusted identity services, which is basically all the services above the network that GEANT can provide to research and education as well. And then finally, sorry, will be the last one, is the network. So really what GEANT does is the infrastructure underlining all of the services available for the research and education. Here is basically what I've just said with the different headlines as well. I can see some people taking pictures. This will be available online after the meeting, so you can also take pictures if you like to. Sorry? This is the impressive network that GEANT has available for university, research institutes, and schools. And as you see, all main hubs are connected. But because I'm not the technical expert here, I will just give you a bit of a snapshot, and I will let Bram tell you a little bit more about the network, but also what does enable to do. Because GEANT, with the entrance, make sure that we provide services to researchers to access the highest definition of services, the highest speed available in the infrastructure. And this is again showing how, from Europe, we're all interconnected worldwide, and Lisa touched upon a little bit of that, because research really doesn't have any border. So despite the sort of geopolitics that we're going through now, we are still all very much connected, and we all want to have the best research as a priority in Europe. And again, this is the network in terms of what we deliver is a support, the entrance to be the world-class network facilities for all their constituency, that we call it. And we mean really the research institutes, the university, the schools, if that applies. We saw as well some entrants connect government organizations, and they can also connect, well, we saw some services, they're also present in the airport, but I will get to that in a second. On top of the network, we have what we call the Trusted Identity Service. These basically are the authentication layer that you as a researcher can access what we just said, the high-speed network available to everyone. And you might know as well about this worldwide, a bit of the rock star of GEANT, EduRoam, which is basically a Wi-Fi network available free worldwide for research and education. And we saw 8.4 billion times being authenticated last year. And the number is growing, but I'm sure Casper will give you a more precise update on this. It's interesting to see that the EduRoam is basically present in more than 106 countries worldwide, and 39 1,000 service locations. So most probably in your institution as well, you can connect to the Wi-Fi, which is called EdRoam. We make sure that the network and these services are secure, reliable, and we mitigate risk of being attacked. And that's why we have a team which works very closely with all entrants and share best practice and expertise in terms of what's the latest in this field. But we don't do only services, we also make sure that what we learn from the ENREN and what we learn in-house from GEANT is shared across the community, and this is one of the examples of the security service portfolio, which is called PO, is a crisis management exercise, which the service owner put together like in a PowerPoint reusable material to make sure that everybody is equipped with skills and competences if ever a crisis hits. And I think like we are living quite in a crisis time. Eva will give you an update on, and in fact, an in-depth presentation on what is available through GEANT for cloud and what we call the above-the-net services. Above the net, again, is because it's above the network that is provided. And I just want to touch upon a little bit on what I said earlier on in terms of transform. So the GEANT community program is basically is the place where all the experts from worldwide, but mainly from Europe, come together on specific topics to share best practices, learn from each other, and address common challenges. Ariella will give you more of an in-depth presentation as well, but I would like for you to see here as well the wheel and the different topics that are available in terms of discussion. I don't know if Professor Kerkhoff was interested to know more in terms also not just the infrastructure that we provide, but really the human network that we build or we foster, in fact, across entrants in Europe. I think this gives you a bit of a flair, really, of what are the expertise available within the community of GEANT. And that's how we come to be the community of innovators. So Europe can really trust on you, in fact, on the researcher through your entrants to be at the front of the worldwide research. We also run a project which is confusedly called GEANT, and we are in 20 years in now, after it's been quite some time, basically, that GEANT coordinates the GEANT project. And this is the place where most of experts as well come together to contribute and make sure that the network itself, the services that are available to the communities are optimized for the end users. And here you can see just some stats on terms of what is the project. So all entrants in Europe contribute to this project. We have an associate partner, which is called Switch, And it's quite impressive, the contribution that the European Commission gave to the entrant, basically, to work on what is the most resilient network in Europe for research. But the reason for connectivity, cloud, access, and services is really people. And we come together in what is the flagship conference of GEANT every year in June, the first week of June, in fact. And this year we will be in Helsinki from the 8th to the 12th of June, where conversation about technology, the latest in terms of services, and discussion about what the end user needs will happen. So we will invite you to also come and join us then. If you want to follow us, there are a few social media channels here. If you'd like to receive our freely distributed magazine, please do get in touch, or get in touch with Radoslav and Roman as well. The website is GEANT.org, and if you have any question, I'm very happy to take it now or at the end or when you feel it is the time, right time. But thanks for listening for now, and I will pass it over to Ariela, who will give you an update in terms of the community project. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions to Marina? Quick questions, because we have time through the coffee break to talk with each of the presenters. No problem to touch in deep topics. Next presenter will be about the topic OCRE and cloud in GEANT. This is second topic from Eva. Ariela. Okay. Ariela is a marketing and communication specialist at Arnes and has been actively involved in the GEANT community since 2022. She has been part of the steering committee of the special interest group on marketing and communications in the GEANT community program for just over a year, and has also been a member of the GEANT Community Committee since May 2025, putting special emphasis on inclusivity within the Southeastern Europe region and interregional collaboration. Ariela, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So good afternoon to everyone. So my name is Ariela. I come from Arnes, which is a Slovenian national research and education network. And I'm also a member of the GEANT Community Committee. Thank you. Very kind. Of the GEANT Community Committee, which is a committee of 8 people from across the community, from different enrons, different countries, who has a kind of oversight over the GEANT community program, which Marina already told you a little bit about. So the GEANT community program, or the GCP, as we call it in short, is a voluntary, kind of a grassroots initiative that allows for closer, more fruitful collaboration between community experts, so those who work for the National Research and Education Networks, people from the research institutions, and also user institutions like universities and so on. It's not only that, but the GCP kind of also represents a forum to exchange ideas, to collaborate on possible innovations, brainstorm on relevant issues regarding the research and education community, and with this also empower new developments of services. Now, the gist of the GCP, and you saw this wheel not that long ago, is in the organized task forces, or TFs, and the special interest groups, or SIGs, which is why you see a lot of SIG words in there. These are open to everyone from the community, so not just members of the NRENs, so National Research and Education Networks, like Arnes or like Beren, but also university researchers. Now, these SIGs and TFs cover 6 major thematic areas. These are network, security, business practices, trust and identity, cloud, and stakeholder engagement. Now, it is very clear that there is a high demand for collaborative spaces in the community, because some of these SIGs have been around in some form or another. For example, the SIG NOC, or the SIG Network Operating Centers, or SIG Marcoms, SIG Marketing and Communications. They have been around in some form since the 90s. But under the GEANT community program, these collaboration efforts then actually gain more structure and then are able also to include a wider variety of contributors. So different representatives from different countries, from different institutions, and so on. Now, this especially holds true for larger special interest groups like SIGNOC. It has like really a very broad representation of NRENs and countries. And they come together to discuss relevant challenges. In light of the changing technology and the world we live in right now, some new SIGs have also been making their way into the community program. In the past few years, these have been the SIG Sustainability, SIG AI, SIG Quantum, and SIG Public Affairs and Policy. As of now, there is really only one task force, the TF-EDU, which you can find under the stakeholder engagement part. It discusses the applicability and scalability of research and education services and activities for education. And task forces differ from SIGs in that they always have an end goal, and they are more clearly structured. And they are usually discontinued once they reach that goal, but they can also very naturally phase into a special interest group if that is the kind of, let's say, the demand of the community. The SIGs and TFs meet regularly. Some SIGs have around 40 members, 50 members that regularly participate in meetings. And these meetings happen either online or in person, and a lot of them are co-located also with the TNC conference that Marina told you about a bit before. But the GCP also offers much more. Now, perhaps the most fruitful activity with regard to innovation is the GEANT Innovation Program. It awards 300,000 euros currently to innovative ideas and projects that apply to this program and then are selected to participate. Now, in our community, funding can sometimes be the major obstacle in advancing our research and technology, and we are certainly not lacking in ideas, right? That was the wish behind the innovation program, to be able to fund ideas to support the testing of ideas, initial development phases, proof of concept solutions for the research and education network. It covers the thematic areas of network technologies, above the net services, trust and identity security. All member NRENs of GEANT can apply, as well as their connected institutions. So if you are a member, if you are connected to BREN, to the Bulgarian NREN, you can also, as a researcher, apply to get funding from the innovation program. There is currently the 2026 edition on its way. Projects and ideas are being developed, but you can apply for next year's funding as well. The aim of the community program, next to supporting each other, is also to share ideas, share knowledge, and share experience. So within this, we have also, GEANT has also developed the GEANT Learning and Development Platform, or GLAD as it is called, or program, so that community experts as well as industry professionals can connect to young professionals, students, in order to share that knowledge and experience that they have gathered over the years. And under GLAD, you can also find the e-Academy, which includes courses in hard skills as well as soft skills. So not only in how to develop network technologies, but also how to manage people and how to lead, for example, or communication. Now, the other three main activities in GLAD are the Future Talent Program. Now, this is a program that promotes engagement between students young professionals, and the GEANT community. And any student from a connected institution to a GEANT member NREN can apply, or somebody who is also working at a GEANT member NREN. So if you have any students at your universities that want to develop their talents and their knowledge, they're welcome to apply to this program. We also have the GEANT mentoring program, or GEM, which strives to connect young professionals with mentors from the community on a wide variety of topics. And this also provides training not only in hard skills, but also soft skills like communication and leadership. We also have Trust and Identity Incubator. As far as I know, Kasper will also say a little bit about that. But just to kind of give you a quick overview, the Trust and Identity Incubator aims to develop the next generation of TNI researchers and develop new TNI, so trust and identity technologies. And it is a 7-month paid mentorship program for the specific area, so trust and identity. All of this and more is also available on this webpage, so community.geant.org. I will not go into details here about how to apply to all of these, but I do welcome you to go to the webpage, try to read through the specific tabs for these specific programs, and see whether any of them apply to you. And if you have any additional questions, you can always ask me or come to me, and I will try to explain some more. But what I wanted to say is that the GEANT community program is, I would say, it's not a passing feature of the community, but it's one that builds foundations for services, for example, like Eduroam that was introduced before. Eduroam began as an idea within the community, and it grew into a service that it is today, so more than 8 billion authentications in over 100 countries. And this is what is possible through sustaining and participating, I would say, in community efforts. So if you wish to be part of that community, you're very welcome to participate, and we would be very happy to see you in one of our activities. That's it for me. Thank you. If you have any questions, you can ask now or later.
Any quick questions? We have possibility through the coffee break to talk with Aurelia. This was GEANT community program. Aurelia is from Slovenian NRN and a member of the GEANT community program. Okay, now we continue with the next presentation. This is OCRE and Cloud in GEANT. The presenter will be Eva Nestorowska. She is researcher at the Polish NRN, PSSCC. She runs the community task in work package 4 above the net services of the GEANT project. The floor is yours, Eva.
Thank you so much. So hi, my name is Eva Nestorowska. I work for the NRAN in Poland, PCSS, but I used to work for the NRAN in North Macedonia. For Marne, that's the NRAN in North Macedonia, and I live in Skopje, so if you have any questions, you can also do it in Bulgaria. I will probably understand you. But today I am in a role of representative of Work Package 4 in our project that is responsible for the OCRE 2024 framework, and my role explicitly is helping the service adoption, so please step forward if you have more questions after the presentation. Let's just go back in history a little bit and see how it all started. It was identified that the research and education institutions in NRAN have a need of usage of cloud services for a variety of reasons. So for cloud computing, storage, data analysis, and other. And this challenge was solved, I would say, with the GEANT Cloud framework. In the beginning, of course, there were two solutions. Well, one was building cloud services, which is great. We have experts in the community, but it takes time and effort, and of course, the research and education institution need immediate solution. And then there's buying of cloud services, which is also a solution, nice, but the cost, compliance, national regulation, bureaucracy, administration, you need a person that actually has the knowledge and experience how to do it. So there's a solution. And where there is a shared challenge, of course, there is a shared solution. And that is the GEANT Cloud Framework, which is basically a solution for all research and education, solution for offering of cloud services for all the research and education institutions in Europe, where GEANT acts as central purchasing body and is, of course, representing the whole community. We leverage this market aggregation to procure and scale and negotiate favorable conditions and prices and discounts that you will see later. Benefits of the framework: so institutions can easily consume the IS Plus services in compliant manner and best conditions to use. The data is secure and handled professionally, and service providers offer an offer that is for the and matching for the need of research and education community in Europe, and these can be these are compatible with GEANT network and the identity management capabilities. So the story began back in 2015 when we started with the first framework, that was the IS 2016 framework. As you can see on the graph, the second was the OCRE 2024 framework, and now we have the OCRE 2024 framework available. Well, the current framework, the OCRE 2024, is available for 5 years, started last year in February, and the services are available for the research and education community in Europe until February 2030. As I mentioned, this is the third iteration of the framework, which was led by GEANT in collaboration with 39 NRENs. Through the framework, we have more than 400 framework agreements signed with 40 service providers. The map, of course, we all have the map. As you can see here, these are the countries that can actually sign a call of contract and start using the cloud services through the framework. Bulgaria is one of the countries, one of the 39 countries. These services are available for more than 25 institutions in Europe, or as we call them, the participating entities. There are more than 50 institutions that can actually use the framework in Bulgaria. And we are happy to say that we have a great collaboration with the Bulgarian NREN. So maybe if the name of your institution is not on the list, just get in touch with Bren and we can actually sort that out. So any questions that you have, please contact Bren and we will be happy to support you in your process. So as I mentioned, the participating entities, so who can actually use this framework? We have 3 groups of institutions that can use the framework. The first and most important, the main target, are the research and education institutions that are members of all the NRENs participating in the framework. The second group are the research and education institutions that are not members of the NRENs, private universities, medical centers, libraries, museums, or other institutions. And the third group are members of the NRENs across Europe, but are not research and education institutions. So, types of services. The first framework offered only IaaS services, so infrastructure as a service only. The second framework, we actually broadened the spectrum of the services, and it is the same now. So the framework, through the framework, you can purchase software as a service, platform as a service, and of course infrastructure as a service available. Platforms and providers. There are 17 platforms. We have the hyperscalers, but there are also European platforms that are available through the framework, and this is something that is really important, and we are really proud to have them in, as part of our portfolio. And of course the service providers. So sometimes the service providers are the same as the platform, but there are also some resellers that can be offered. There's a cloud catalog on our webpage when you can do the searching, so you can actually see all the platforms and providers available for all the countries. But I think this information is actually relevant for you. So 6 platforms are available in Bulgaria through different providers. With this framework, we have also this option where for one platform there are more than one provider, and that is to make the quality of the service to be better, and there are different awarding mechanisms that we can discuss, of course, if you're interested too. So just please get in touch with Bren if you have more questions. And of course, added value. There are a lot of things written here. You can, of course, read them all. I'm not going to read because I would like to stress several. This is pricing and discounts. Everything is really just offered for you really simply to reach, and excellent support from the NREN, from the providers, and from us as a team. So we have trainings that we organize, events that we organize for the institutions, but also for Bren, for the NRENs, where we keep them informed and basically trained for them to support you in the process of adoption of the cloud services through GEANT. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, short questions? Okay. You have possibility, of course, at the coffee break. Now, we have till 30 minutes coffee break, and after that we continue with another presentations, which will be Trust and Identity presentation, GEANT Network and Europe HPC developments, and Bren Network and development. Okay. Have a coffee break in front of the hall, and we return back on 15 o'clock, start with next presentations. Да флашката да сложим.
остава ли като запис? Чудесно.
Става до
Да.
17 часа.
Не бе, става въпрос, че ще го има утре и други ден и така.
Да, ще го има на YouTube канала.
Come casa?
Чакай, ето тук така. Да ни красят жените.
Хубави, ма не са.
Okay, dear colleagues, it's 15 o'clock, and we continue our GEANT Info Day at Bulgarian Academy of Sciences. And the next presentation will be Trust and Identity from Kasper Dreef. Kasper Dreef is Trust and Identity expert at GEANT organization, and will present this topic in deep. The floor is yours, Kasper.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for all the delicious snacks during the break. They're much appreciated. So my name is Kasper Dreef. I've been working for GEANT for over 9 years now, mostly in the trust and security space, and within this space I mostly look into governance and policy. So for any technical questions, I will refer you to other people. This is my first disclaimer. I may not know all the answers to your questions, but I do know the people who do know the answers to your questions. So today I'm going to talk to you about all the trust and identity services and the activities in the GEANT project. And I've listed them here for you. You have Eduroam, EduGAIN, the core AI platform, and the service on top of that. In academia, the Trust and Identity Incubator that was briefly mentioned before. And the last task is enabling communities, of which I am the task leader in the project. So firstly, Eduroam, a service you might already know. But Eduroam is designed to provide a simple and secure and easy to use roaming access to Wi-Fi services for academia. It is available now to millions of students and researchers all over the world. It covers 112 territories since last year. There are service points in more than 10,000 service points across the globe. No institutions, I have to say, and 45,000 service locations. At the moment, I looked into the statistics of BREN and Bulgaria. There are 9 service locations in Bulgaria at the moment. And maybe this is already my first call to action to get more service locations available here. But we can talk about that during the next break or offline at any point in time. Eduroam is governed by the Global Eduroam Governance Committee, and this committee consists of representatives of the 5 world regions and is supported by the Secretariat, of which I am part, and some technical experts. In Europe, we have the European Eduroam Confederation, and BREN is a member of that. Eduroam is not only a service, it only offers additional tools. And I've listed 2 of the most interesting ones here. First of all, we have Eduroam CAT, and CAT stands for the Configuration Assistant Tool. And this has been developed to help organizations offering their users Eduroam access. The tool builds on customized installers for a range of popular PC and smartphone platforms, and it enhances the security for end users. It protects users against rogue Wi-Fi hotspots that access your usernames and passwords. And a specific configuration is made for each participating organization. If you want to learn more about the CAT, Eduroam CAT, this is a link, and as Marina said before, slides will be shared, so all this information will be available at a later point in time as well. The second tool I would like to highlight is Get Eduroam, and Get Eduroam is an app and is more focused is more for the users, the end users, where CAT is more for the administrators, and it's also free of charge. And Get Eduroam taps into the CAT service and manages the required settings for your institutions and devices to ensure that you are always connected to a valid and correctly configured Eduroam access point, and that your details cannot be accessed by other people. And it's as simple as downloading Get Eduroam to get connected, but it's important that your institution supports CAT as well. So start with CAT, then go to Get Eduroam. The next service is EduGAIN. And EduGAIN interconnects identity federations around the world and with that simplifying access to content, services and resources for the global research and education community. At the moment we have 83 participating members. The Bulgarian NREN, or the Bulgarian Identity Federation, BIF, is one of them. In EduGAIN, at the moment we have over 6,000 identity providers and almost 4,000 service providers listed. At the moment, there are 20 IDPs and 1 SP connected through the Bulgarian Identity Federation, and all information about the Bulgarian Identity Federation can be found through the technical website. And maybe one nice thing to highlight is that EduGAIN is celebrating its 15th anniversary this year. But EduGAIN also offers more tools and services. So we offer the metadata validator, where you can see if everything that you're providing to your federation is still correct and is also communicating correctly with the EduGAIN infrastructure. The entity database, which is very useful. You can look up your own entity, but also other entities, and these can be identity providers or service providers. And we offer multiple check-in tools, such as a connectivity check, a release check, and an access check. All tools are free to use, and they are accessible via technical.edugain.org. And this is also where you can find all the information about your local national federation. Then we have the core AAI platform. And this is a platform to realize solutions for advanced federated identity access use cases in research and education. The core AAI platform enables R&D communities to securely access and share resources using the EduGAIN Federation identities at its foundation, as you can see at the bottom there. And it also connects third-party identifiers, such as ORCID, EIDAS, EUDI, and social identifiers, such as Google and other big tech solutions. It simplifies user authentication, identification, and role management while providing a unified integration point of for services. The centralization allows the development of advanced solutions while reducing complexity. Notable services built on top of the core AI platform include My Access ID and My Academic ID, EOSC AI, GEANT AI, and EduTeam services. And alongside these, there are a number of bespoke services, and these are targeted at research infrastructures that are also based on the core AI platform. And on this slide, you can see on the left-hand side that the GEANT AI service is aimed and targeted at the GEANT community. My Access ID to e-science, such as high performance computing and the European Research Institutes. And education is served by My Academic ID and also enhances student mobility. Some new features that have been released in 2025 is the support of the EOSC EU node, support of EU or HPC through My Access ID, and the EUDI wallet pilots and university alliances through My Academic ID. And there's one final service listed here on the top left, and that's in academia, and that is the next service that I want to cover. And My Academic ID gives service providers a quick and reliable and secure way to verify academic affiliation. And this can be for students, for members of staff, or researchers affiliated to your faculty or institution. And this is to determine whether a user is eligible for discounts or academic-only offers, provided the user is registered by a participating EduGAIN identity provider. So this is, again, showing the importance of being a member of your local federation. In academia, uses the identity providers available in EduGAIN, and it provides an OpenID Connect protocol interface for connecting online retailers, and via proxy connects that to the SAML protocol that is used within EduGAIN. So you don't have to do that, the service does that for you. End users and identity providers benefit from in academia as it provides a privacy-preserving and streamlined way to validate the user's affiliation, compared to the manual processes that many online retailers use, such as requesting personal documents as proof of academic affiliation. So, in short, in academia is a real-time digital equivalent of asking a student to show their student card in order to access or buy services and products. This service is available in Bulgaria, but at the moment there are no active merchants yet. So again, a call to action to discuss this with your local identity federation, but also if you know commercial parties or not-for-profit parties that want to offer discounts or special offers to your users, you can use In Academia. And the In Academia team is very happy to assist you with your requests. Then, already briefly mentioned by Ariela, is the Trust and Identity Incubator. And the incubator aims to develop and foster and mature new ideas in the trust and identity space. The incubator investigates new technologies, solutions, business cases, and policies that currently do not yet have a place in our service offering. The incubator results are either handed over to existing services for further development or integration into the services, and they will be made available software, but also policies for the entire R&E community. If a cycle turns out to be less successful, because that can happen in an incubator, there will be a report on why this idea is maybe not that fruitful or cannot be followed up. And there are also cases where there are solutions, there are results, but they are not mature enough. Then they will refocus your ideas and add that to a new cycle of the incubator. The incubator handles about 4 topics per cycle, and a cycle duration is about 7 months. The incubator also supports TIP, the Trust and Identity Mentorship Program, where the incubator team, the GLAD, so the GEANT Learning and Development team, and NRENS, that function as the mentors for these participants to guide young professionals in their investigations and exploring their exciting ideas. And it gives the students a great opportunity to work in an international environment and learning from renowned experts in the T&I community. We've had 10 students participating in this program so far, but we're still looking for more. It's a great opportunity as well for them, for the students to get to know how to work within the academic world. And it also already led to a couple of hires by participating institutions, universities, and NRENS as well. So quite a success. The next cycle is coming up. I do believe it will start by the end of summer, but the call for proposals is open now. You can always drop your ideas. There is a link further down in my slide deck where you can drop your ideas, and this goes for the regular incubator cycles, but also for the TIM program. And last but not least, it's the Enabling Community task, of which I am the very proud task lead. And in Enabling Community, in the Enabling Community task, we provide a bidirectional channel with key T&I stakeholders, including research communities, identity federations, service owners, and other relevant parties to communicate new initiatives, to collect feedback, to disseminate results of the project of different services to the broader T&I and R&E community. And we also collect input from these initiatives to further develop new ideas within our T&I service portfolio. This work is carried out in 3 subtasks. It's the policy and technology subtask that supports activities such as the Higher Education Interoperability Framework AAI Working Group. It's quite a mouthful. It supports the ARC community, especially the continuation and maintenance of ARC project results, and further development of the ARC blueprint architecture. FIM4R, which stands for Federated Identity Management for Research, and FIM4L, Federated Identity Management for Library Communities. And we also support by providing resources to work on topics in REFED's working groups. We have the outreach subtask that helps with disseminating new developments in the TNI space, in the TNI services, where this is where we work together with partner relations, international relations within GEANT, and marketing and communications team within GEANT, but also in the GEANT project. And we help to stimulate uptake of services and new ideas. And the final subtask is on wallets. It's quite a new activity and quite exciting activity because a lot of things are happening there. Things that we are looking into in the wallets activity is identifying use cases for R&D institutions, identifying international initiatives such as the European large-scale pilots. We also participate in these pilots. We have been working on a common terminology for wallets and digital credentials, and we will be looking into interoperability to prevent that we have to redo the work in all the different European countries. And we look into the role of identity federations in the wallet space as well, because it would be good if we could build on the existing knowledge that we already have. And since this year, we started setting up building a community around wallets and digital credentials. We will have our first info share on the 4th of May. This can be found in the GEANT events, on the GEANT events page. Here we will give a full overview on what activities are discussed within this subtask. And that already leads me to the last, but maybe the most important slide of this presentation, and that is how to get in touch. So for Eduroam matters, first of all, contact your local national roaming operator, Bren in this case. We also have an operations team available that can help Bren as well with technical matters. And you're always allowed to contact me, and my email address is at the bottom of this page. For EduGain, same thing. Your local identity federation should be able to assist you with your questions. But if you have bigger than your own identity federation questions, then you can always contact the support team. Same goes for, well, slightly different for a core AI platform and in academia. These are contact addresses for those teams. You can contact them directly with all your questions around that. And as promised, for the TNI Incubator Call for Ideas, we have a wiki page that you could access and where you can share your ideas. And last but not least, I would like to invite you to join the wallet community. Simply click on this link and subscribe to the wallet community mailing list. And as said, my email address is at the bottom, so if you have any further questions, you can always ask them online. Because what I've learned, if you have short questions, with me it usually leads to very long answers, and I don't think we have that much time today. But I would like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you. We continue with the next topic, GEANT Network and Euro HPC, High Performance Computing Development. The presenter will be Brans Peters. Brans Peters is Chief Network Services Officer at GEANT. Bram joined GEANT in January 2018 following a role at Nokia, where he project managed the delivery of new technology solutions to Nokia customers. Brams is well known to the GEANT community thanks to his 10+ years at SurfNet, where he joined as a network expert developing the SurfNet network and services. He quickly rose to head of network services, where his team was responsible for the exploitation and innovation of SurfNet's network services, from the fiber network up to the routed networks. During his time at SurfNet, he also acted as a program manager for the Connecting Infrastructures Innovation Program, covering both the fixed backbone network as well as development in the Wi-Fi free area. Brahms holds a degree in electrical engineering from the Vrije University, Brussels, and a Master of Business Administration from Thijs Numbers Business Schools. Brahms, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I think in the news side, my bio will be a bit shorter, and it should include throw stuff on the floor when he shouldn't. But no, I'm responsible for the network at GEANT, so this next 20 minutes will be a little bit of a look at what we do with the network, how we build networks together across Europe and across the world. That's the story. Because I do think that in Europe, we do have something quite unique. In the end, we do have a very solid network infrastructure that is there specifically for research and education, but also done by research and education. It's not a commercial network. It's a network that we together build and run. And that's important to keep in mind when we go through what is it capable of. So, this is important as well, because this is the who do we do this with. Within GEANT, you have seen this slide before. There's about 40-ish networks. It is important to realize that they all do the network locally in the country. So when I talk about the GEANT network, there is the European network, but also the European network plus all the national networks and their connections into organizations, institutions. So when you look at the reach we have and the ability to connect from a site in Europe to another site in Europe, together we have an unparalleled ability to connect in Europe. I don't think there's any commercial network that can do what we can do. That's a bold statement, but I think together in Europe we have something, as I said, quite unique. So, why do we do that? I think this is something that I always want to remind people of. Definitely, I'm an engineer by training, as was in the bio. I like to talk about technology, but in the end it needs to have a reason. Why do we build the networks? This is the very simple and straightforward approach. If you connect a lot of universities, institutions, offices, people will just use the internet as well. They will have connectivity, they will want to have access to news, they want access to their own data stores. So just having a very good standard internet service is important. In these times, if you do not have the internet running, you know what students do. They will go home because they need access to information and they need access to messaging installation. So this is important, that we just have that at the right level. Networking is important in daily life. This perhaps is a more traditional example in our kind of environment, in that we're research and education networks. So science is very important. These are some pretty pictures out of the CERN experiment, the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva, with the circle where they have built, I believe, a few hundred meters under the ground, a very large tunnel with one science experiment. So, particle physics, the way they do that, it produces an enormous amount of data, because everything that they record could be actual, the Higgs boson. So they need to collect all the data, there is no noise, everything needs to be able to be processed. So every single second they produce more data than we can traditionally run on a classical network. That's also one of the reasons why our networks exist, to deal with that kind of extreme data. They sit in Geneva, but across the world there's about 10 to 15 tier 1 centers where people connect to and a full copy of the data exists. Researchers will then connect to these centers, but that means that the network connection between CERN and these centers is very important, but also between these centers and the people who actually use the data. I think something similar exists with this example. This is also a somewhat classical one. Radio astronomy is also a bit of science where the data is quite impressive. The numbers are just extreme. This is the SK experiment, the square kilometer array. They do radio astronomy in 2 different sites, one in South Africa, one in Australia, but it's one joint experiment. Different technology on both sides. I believe in South Africa they have enough satellites to produce no less than 20 terabits per second of data. 20 terabits per second of data is something like 3 to 4 high-class memory drives every second. They do some local calculation, but then still the data needs to go out to the participating countries. Participating countries in this case are, I believe, Canada, Sweden, Italy, the Chinese. So even when they sit in Australia and South Africa, the data needs to go out and needs to be accessible for people to do their calculations on processing. And the numbers here are extreme. I think 20 terabits locally is already extreme. They send a few hundred gigs into the world. When they first started, that was unthinkable. That was just too much. I'm happy that they've taken a long time to build the experiment, so we can now actually do it technically, but this was one of the big challenges. So to combine that together, I think in general you probably get the idea that a lot of what we do is talking about e-infrastructure. A catch-all term for everything where data, computing, networking comes together. And as Casper was explaining also quite a bit of the how do you actually allow people to get access to these resources? How do you get people to understand, I want to get access to a supercomputer, I'm this kind of researcher, I sit in that project, I want to be able to get access to that data, but all of that is connected by networks. And that is the only way to get to these kinds of beautiful pictures of, I think this was a simulation of a storm by the EuroHPC site in Germany. They have the best graphics. I like this one. I think the colors are temperature, the intensity is wind speeds of a storm. You can imagine that to do this at the scale of the picture you see here is an enormous amount of data, an enormous amount of computation, and we need to have the networks to be able to support that. So, going to the actual, what does the network look like? You may recognize some of the pictures. That's not a surprise because there's only one network. One thing we have been doing in the past few years, and I think that's been very important in how we operate, is the investment that we did in the core network. That was a joint effort between all the different entrants, the European Commission, but we built something that actually was a lot bigger. This is the network before 2020. If you look at the black lines, they are the fiber core. Fiber allows you to build any capacity you need. There's obviously always a limit, but once you have access to fiber with modern optical technology, you can basically build links of a few terabits quite easily. If you don't have access to fiber, everything you need to get, you will need to buy from a commercial party. It's called a leased line. If you need to double the capacity, you need to buy that twice. If you do that on your own fiber network, adding capacity is easy. It's still a cost, but it's not double the cost. This network we had on rather short-term contracts as well. So we went with the community, with a plan to the EC and said, look, we would like to really invest in our network and get something that, at that time, the term was bridges the digital divide. We want to make sure that across Europe, everybody can get good access to networks in a very similar way. Obviously, budgets are limited, so we couldn't do everything we wanted, but we did end up with this network. You have seen this picture before because this is the actual network. And where on the previous slide, the black lines were fiber, on this one, the red lines are fiber. So everywhere you see a red line, we now have access to all the capacity we want and need, we can build quite easily. On the previous slide, you did not see Sophia. On this slide, you see Sophia with a few fibers going in. The blue lines are a spectrum. That is basically where we don't have access to the full fiber. We have access to a quarter of the fiber. On a full fiber, we can do multiple terabits. On a quarter of a fiber, we can still do 2 terabits with the current technology, and that is, for most of Europe, more than enough at this point in time. If we need more, we can do other things. But basically, this network allows us to do from Reykjavik to Athens, from Lisbon up to Poznan. We can build any capacity link that we need. So this network is super powerful. It then connects into the national networks. So the combination of all the networks with their granularity and their access to institutions with this network, we can really build very good services in Europe. And we can do that at a very manageable cost as well, which is nice. So this has been a good investment. This network will be with us for the next 20 years. I think we signed the contracts for the fiber for 15 plus 6 years. So this is a bit of guarantee and certainty that we have a solid infrastructure that is there for research and education in Europe. So Europe covered pretty much, but then how do you do that at a global scale? How do we build that kind of very capable networks across the world? Again, we do that, as it says there, through collaboration. We can't do that alone, and we want to work with people and organizations that we trust and can rely on. So what do we actually want to get access to is this. This is I've put at the bottom the link to the site, a very interesting site that has all the existing and planned submarine links. Global network really relies on submarine links. You may have heard the news items last year about attacks in the Suez Canal. You've heard all the news about attacks in the Baltic Sea where unknown entities cut fibers. Submarine cables are really the core of global networking. 99.something% of the traffic runs on these cables. Satellite does a little bit, but with satellite you can't get the capacity that you need to really support the internet. These fibers are typically, or the cables are owned by a limited set of difficult parties to get to work with, and you used to be able to only get, for our kind of organization, a leased line concept there. So you could buy a single 100 gig. If you wanted more capacity, you needed to buy a second 100 gig, double the price. For our kind of networking with large data sets, we need a lot of capacity and we need to be able to grow it without too much cost because the experiments may grow much quicker than the networks grow. So what we have been doing is to try to do the same as what we did at the European scale, also with the submarine networks, and get access to the actual systems and not just the single 100 gig or the single 400 gig systems. So on these cables that I've highlighted here, we have spectrum. We do not have the full fiber because that's not the kind of capacity we need, but we do have access to spectrum. First link was the one into Brazil, a project that we developed across 14 years with the European Commission and the investor. And this is always a collaboration between an investor, ourselves, banks, a party that can actually deliver, but they're complicated long-term projects. We have a similar system now in the Mediterranean. We will have a system that goes out of Milan and Marseille into the east of Africa and then into India, where we connect into Australia. And then we have a few systems in the North Atlantic where at this point in time still most of the traffic is between Europe and the US and Canada. That's where we have the most need. But for us to be globally represented, these other systems are super important. They also create resilience. You don't want a single system, you want a few ways to get to the same place. So, you've also seen this before. This is our own efforts combined with the efforts of other people. I did say that we collaborate, so when we do something, other entities across the world will do similar things, and this is the European-centered view. If you look at the connectivity community Europe into the GEANT network, it is quite impressive, but it is also needed to be able to connect to all the different parties in the world. At a global scale, the R&E collaboration looks like this. So you see colored lines in a specific region. They're collaborations of typically the entities that sit together. So for us, the North Atlantic is important, where we work together with the Americans, the Canadians, the Nordic countries, and the Dutch. We have a system where we collaborate with the people in the Far East, and between the US and the Far East, there are also collaborations that we know quite well and we can rely on when we need to build specific services. So this kind of setup makes us able to access research and education facilities at a global scale with the right kind of capacity, and also with parties that we trust and can collaborate with. So, I have a use case as well to show you what that means in practice. So you may have heard about the EuroHPC hyperconnectivity project. What they basically wanted is to do something like this, where you have the supercomputers standing in across Europe, where UHPC said, look, we invest a lot in the compute power. We build these extremely capable systems. We also want to make sure that they are very well connected to the rest of the world, that they connect between them, but more importantly, that they connect to data, and that people who use the systems can access the systems as well from wherever they sit. So they said, please provide us with access to the HPC resources, make sure that you connect all the different data sources. That can be something like the classical data centers. I think there were a few on the slide earlier on Okra. You have very European ones, but also Amazon, Google. So we need to be able to connect these, and then a system to connect to the rest of the world. And please add a system to also make sure that we know that it works. So monitoring and reporting is important here, so that it's not just connectivity, but also guaranteed clear quality connectivity. So when we look at that, we go like, okay, this is what we do. That's our business. If you look at it, we are used to delivering research-grade, high-capacity connectivity, and we do that with a global reach. So we know how to deal with these EuroHPC-like requirements from a supercomputer and the data. The good thing is, when you saw the list of that the EuroHPC setup wanted to connect to in the size that they cared about, they had about 300 sites they mentioned. About 96% of these already connect to our networks. So we're a very natural partner to be able to deliver this. And then that also makes it obviously cost-effective and easy to deliver. Easy to deliver, we're still busy, and I hope that we can actually deliver in time. But it is something that we know how to do, and this is our business. It's also clear that if you would do this through a different party, the service would really not be the kind of quality that we can do together. So if you're honest about it, I think I'm not doing a marketing speech here, but I really do think that we as a community, we're the only party who can really do this. Connect all these supercomputers, make sure that they connect to the right places, and be sure that there is always the right kind of capacity and quality. That's our business. We know how to do that. That's why we exist. So I'm happy that we ended up being the party that actually is going to do this. So what we try to get here is basically to make sure, as should be clear by now, that we have in EuroHPC every center and every country interconnected at an equal excellence. So not every country has the same capacity, not every country has the same bandwidth, but it needs to be the same quality and it needs to have the same availability. We do that together with the National Research and Education Networks for all the countries where UHPC has their supercomputers. But also the access to the global networks and the access to all the other entities that may connect into the network. That is traditionally, for some of the networks, a bit of a, how do we connect commercial parties? It's not that difficult. In every country, you typically have an IXP, an internet exchange point, where if you have a lot of capacity, you come to the internet exchange point, you connect to that, and we can connect to you there. So any party who needs to connect, we will be able to connect. And we already have access to all the major data and storage players, also partially because of what I showed at the start. If you have all these students and researchers doing business, you need to have a good internet service. You do need all that connectivity already in place. And we are building a very cool shared monitoring and reporting system that is a bit new because it's across all the different networks. I can't expand on that too much because I had only 20 minutes. So, but it's cool stuff based on Persona. So to summarize this one, the core network, seamless high-performance access, reliable, scalable performance, and a federated operating model. That does sound like beautiful talking, but I think what is important here is the federated operating model. We can only do this because we work together in Europe with all the different national networks. They need to come together for us to be able to deliver this to the EuroHPC, who see us as a super important partner to work with. If we wouldn't exist, they would have a challenge. We solve that challenge for them together. And for the sites, I think in the end it's nice to know that you are connected to very good networks that actually understand your use case, care about it, so the capacity is guaranteed. And we have that layer of dedicated monitoring, so in case things go wrong, we know and we are on it very quickly. So that is for EuroHPC what we are doing. a very strong core working with the national networks to make sure that all the sites are connected and opening it up to the world. So we made a nice little film that I have to show, because it's the first time this is shown, because the UHPC had a conference in Cyprus a few weeks ago. That did not happen because of obvious events in the region, and we had this little image made to explain what it actually is we do. So a lot of data going across the network, but then also all the sites being built by the national networks that are slowly bringing... Whoa. I did not expect that one. Enough sound, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting presentation about GEANT network and Euro HPC possibilities to connect and to use supercomputers across the Europe. If you have any questions to Bram, maybe you can connect through the email and get more information if you're interested. The last presentation will be the brand network and ambitions for development and more. The topic will be presented by Orlin Kuzov, who is the chair of National Research Network in Bulgaria. Dr. Orlin Kuzov, please, the chair is yours.
My presentation is here, but yes. We'll see. Не знам коя да гледам от всичките, защото вие сте ги... Тази ли? Okay, dear colleagues, hope users online also hear me. The topic is research networking in Bulgaria, current status and prospects. I'll try to be brief enough, however there will be time for questions after that if needed. I'll tell few things about research networking, only very quick because the speakers before talked enough about this. As you know, the importance of research networks for the social development is becoming stronger and stronger. A lot of processes worldwide are digitalizing, and more economic activities move into the online world, which requires stronger networks, more resilient backbones, and of course, better connectivity between people, between institutions, between projects, between machines. As you saw before, they're connecting supercomputers, radio telescopes, accelerators, sensors, medical equipment. We need definitely a new level of credibility and assurance which would make all this work. And of course, stronger cooperation at national and international level, which requires specialized communication networks with, of course, guaranteed speed and quality. You saw this from our colleague's presentation. This is GEANT network, which interconnects all the research network in Europe. You saw also the global connectivity map, which shows that GEANT is not unique. We have similar networks in all continents, like, for instance, 10 in Far East, which interconnects Japan, China, and Korea, Internet 2 in the States, Canary in Canada, and so on. Every continent has connectivity, and all these people are working together. So let's move to Bulgaria and what we are doing here. Just a very short introduction of research networking in our country. It started long ago, like say more than 35 years, in early 90s of the previous century. Initially there was a volunteer association of universities. It was called UNICOM-B. It had about 15 institutions connected, and with some support of Open Society Foundation and some European grants. There was no specific national funding. So this network very soon collapsed and was suffocated with traffic because the international connectivity was not enough. So a couple of years later, the Ministry of Education decided to give some special funding and to connect two new lines to Amsterdam. They prepared the funding, but unfortunately at this time, this was an economic crisis in 1996, if I remember well. So the government and the economy collapsed and all the money was lost. So again, we were not connected and our network was close to full, let's say, annihilation. So in 1999, the Ministry of Education decided to establish a special unit called National Educational and Research Information Network. It took the name of the previous one, Unicom B, and it was established as a specialized unit at the ministry. Actually, I was the first director of this unit. However, 2 years later, one of the new ministers, it was at the time when the NDSV government came in place, one of the new Minister of Education said, I don't know what this unit is about, and he simply closed it. So I found from the State Gazette that my unit is not existing anymore, which was crazy because at that time in Europe there was very huge processes, like GEANT was forming at that time. We just win a big grant from NATO science program and so on. And suddenly we found out that we have no legal entity to represent all this. So a couple of years later, maybe 3 years later actually, I was at that time CEO of the newly established ICT Development Agency, which nowadays is called Ministry of E-Government, but at that time it was a smaller agency, part of the Ministry of Transport. So it worked as an initiator for re-establishing the membership of Bulgaria in GEANT. We invited several academic people, distinguished academic professionals to make a foundation called Information Society Technologies, which was recommended by our government to GEANT network, and they became member of GEANT and represented Bulgaria. Of course, this was not a stable solution. These were physical people. We need institutions to back this effort. So a couple of years later, we invited several universities, including Sofia University, Bulgarian Academy of Sciences, Technical University, Rusa University, of course, the existing foundation, and of course, the Ministry of Transport and my agency. And we established the so-called National Research Network Association, which nowadays is the national entity that is responsible for the networking. Of course, a couple of years later, there's again new government, the new agency. There was, at that time, the government sold the National Telecom, BTC, and because BTC had two parts. One was public, that was sold, but one was the secret, that was responsible for all the military, police, government, and all the links. So this secret part of the telco became agency, which merged with parts of the Ministry of Transport and my former agency, and was called State Agency for Information Technology and Communications, but has much more power than the previous one, because, to give you an idea, I had 20 people, and the agency that inherited me had 1,200 people. So you could imagine the scope and the power of this entity, and they said, okay, but we don't like to share the power with all these universities. We want to be an umbrella for this. So we invite your association, together with the Council of Directors and Academy of Sciences, to make an umbrella organization and to represent Bulgaria internationally. And I say, okay, if you provide me access to your national backbone, because they have already operational real infrastructure, we will make the deal. So that is why we have now these two entities. The national backbone is operated by NRNA, and the umbrella is brand, which you know, it's now representing Bulgaria internationally and making all these political things. So let's not talk more about international things and speak about technology and infrastructure. Of course, this state network at that time, which was 1 gigabit, which was enough in 2010, but was not enough with the development of the networking and all these research needs. So in few steps, we tried to upgrade the networks. Our first big effort was with this Hellenic Plan for Economic Reconstruction of the Balkans. You know, Greece has prepared something like €500 million to support 6 Balkan countries to interconnect, to make stronger networks, to make all these nodes, upgrades, to put specific machines and so on. The project was almost ready. We succeeded to put there all the academic nodes, and under this project we hope to connect 35 locations all across Bulgaria. But unfortunately, at the moment the project was about to be signed, it was in the Ministry of Regional Development, Greece collapsed at that time. You know, the financial crisis in Greece at the beginning of 2011. So the money was gone, so this project, you know, we saw zero money from there. Our next effort was connected with the Ministry of Education. This was a special strategy for effective implementation of ICT in education and science. And some of the people in this hall know well about this. They were part of this working group that wrote in the strategy, that under the strategy we need to finance the research network, to connect all the universities and so on. Unfortunately, the strategy started, but this was again a new change of government, actually several changes. Let's say, to be honest, for 8 years we changed 11 ministers of education. You could imagine that with this structure and with this strategy, we didn't succeed what we expected. So from the whole strategy, which spent hundreds of millions euros, we have zero for academic networking. Unfortunately, this was the case till this year, when we make our third big effort with the National Recovery and Resilience Plan. This time it was successful, and now we have a project financed under this plan, which is, of course, smaller than the initial idea, which interconnects all universities, research departments, and so on. But anyway, it still comprises connecting 25 access points, 200 gigabits each. I mean, 2 lines of 100 gigabits in each location, and connecting all this infrastructure, of course, to GEANT, to 100 gigabit lines. That was the project. And of course, let me show you our infrastructure before this project. I don't know, this font is different from mine, maybe that's why, but anyway, these were our infrastructure. Let me just show it. Our infrastructure before the upgrade. It was the end of last year. You see, here are the logical topology. We have actually, before this project, our main access, I mean national backbone, was leased lines and channels by telecom operators. And our backup network was the state network because it was very slow. Like, we have 10 gigabits from commercial operators and only 1 gigabit from the state. Now with the new project, the things are changing. So now the new state line are 100 gigabit, and our backup will remain commercial, or maybe we'll decrease it. We'll see after we see how the new network of the state is working. Here are some parameters of the procurement documents. This is a presentation of the operator A1 who won the tender. Actually, you see, this is the value of the contract. I mean, this is the money that is going for equipment for our 24 nodes. These are actually Academy of Science and 23 universities. It was actually supposed to be a competitive procedure. The Ministry of Education announced this procedure to all universities, says everyone who wishes to be connected with these lines should apply, should make a declaration that they will pay their lines to the backbone, and of course we will receive this equipment if they are no more willing to do this. So let me see a few more slides regarding this. You see some of the parameters. They, of course, increase the state network to 400 gigabits. They give us 100 backbone, and they want up to 80 gigabits in every university. Actually, with one additional switch, we could make 100 gigabits in every point of presence. Here you see the project plan, the milestones. Actually, the contract was signed in the middle of last year, and it should end in June this year. So whatever happens, this project should be finished, otherwise the agency will lose the money. So hopefully we are developing fine. Actually, the first thing, the installation of active equipment is already done. Even I would say Sofia is already working. Of course, there were some bottlenecks, like in the beginning, the operators have provided all the equipment with DC power, which is crazy. We thought we never have DC, nowhere in the country. Please replace them. After that, they didn't supply all the SFP modules at time, so we give our own and so on. But at the end, what we have here as a backbone, this equipment, you see the blue cover is already in place, and it has to become active within the next month. I mean, till the end of June, everything should be up and running. Otherwise, this project will be, you know, they have to return the money. So I'm optimistic that they will make it work. But for the moment, we, of course, are glad that we have the support of all the universities which are supporting all this infrastructure. And Sofia, as you see, this is a special place, so I just show you the lines only in Sofia. Actually, this is the already active part of this project. As you see, this is even not our whole infrastructure in Sofia. This is only the lines that are already in 100 gigabits. We have at least 10 more points, like, you know, the supercomputer and Sofia Tech Park, or, for instance, the Ministry of Defense has their cyber unit department, also part of our network, and so on. But these points will be added later. For the moment, all you see is some of this equipment is not part of the project. This is our own. But this is the real up and running, and you see that all these lines, almost all these lines are green and active. Even the international connectivity of our node should be realized with 3 different lines. First is between the Ministry of E-Government and our main node is the Academy of Science. The second line will be between the Ministry and the Military Academy. And the third line that is going to be established very soon between the Ministry of E-Government and the Technical University of Sofia. It's time to tell you that we also have now established, besides the 200 gigabit lines to GEANT, we also have 100 gigabit to Bulgarian Internet Exchange, which comprise all the major telcos in Bulgaria and internet providers, and also some of the big companies like Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. We also have a special 100 gigabit line to A1, which is supporting this network. We are now in the process of negotiating 100 gigabit with BTC, with Netera, and with Evolink. So we have a pretty decent connectivity very soon. And moreover, we'll be ready to support any of these nodes. So in case something happens with our main node, we have a very quick way to rearrange. Let's say if a Russian missile goes to the academy, which I don't expect to happen, but we'll be ready for any scenario for the nearest future. So you see here the NRN is the government network, and you saw on the previous slide what it looks like. Here are some words about the equipment. Hopefully you have some donation from GEANT, which our friends provided, which is, for instance, our main core router. It was the previous router of the GEANT node in Sofia. It's Juniper MX 480, which is pretty decent for what we are using it, and this is the main router of our network. All across the country, we used to have 10 gigabit Cisco Layer 3 switches, which are now replaced with the new equipment under the tender of the agency. So you could see what we have now. First, we have a new router. This is Cisco NCS 57C3 mode, which is almost the same capacity and power as our Juniper. So in any case, if something happens with the Juniper, we have something to replace it. We also have some equipment for our main nodes in Sofia, because you saw in the previous picture that some of the nodes have more than 2 lines, some have 3 or even 4. So we have 6 routers like this in our major nodes in Sofia University, Technical University, and so on, which is Cisco NCS 55A2. And of course, we have the most the popular model within this standard is this Cisco N540 ACC, which will be given to any of these 24 points. And this will be connecting, you know, on the previous, I mean, maybe this one. On this one, most of these nodes will be with this router. Let's go again to this. So 2 of the lines will interconnect you to the backbone. All the other lines could be used for the local connectivity. Even for some of you that have their own 100 gigabit routers with special cable, we could interconnect these 4 ports that are 25 gigabits to make 1 gigabit. And everyone in this case would have 1 gigabit. We have some equipment in our premises that we could provide to some of the universities that are willing to test it. This is not Cisco, this is Microtic, but this is pretty decent and works well. So nevertheless, our backbone is Cisco. We encourage everyone that wishes to upgrade their own infrastructure to ask if they need some kind of equipment, and we could try to support them, because our initial idea was that if the big project fails, we anyway have started the process of upgrading the network, because, you know, the needs are bursting. So my last slide is, how to say, a short SWOT analysis of our NRN development. First, let's speak about the strengths. What is good is that finally we have one government project, this National Plan for Resilience and all the related projects. To give an idea about the related projects, under the National Plan we received something like 3 million levels for equipment. But the whole plan is, let's say, for 600 million. It was connecting all the broadband in Bulgaria, connecting villages, connecting schools, connecting any other institutions. So we are lucky that within this plan anyway, we have some specialized budget for this. Second, we are glad that we have our active NRN members. As you know, all this process was based on application. We didn't give anyone anything for granted. They have to apply for this. Our third strength is that we have institutional support. As I told you, Ministry of Education was involved, Ministry of Government was involved, somehow Ministry of Transport and Communication was involved. And last but not least, we have good collaboration with telcos, because they understand that they have to collaborate with us. First A1, now BTC, and they're all going to help us somehow go on the fast lane soon enough. Speaking about weaknesses, of course, I have to admit that we have still problems in the so-called managerial understanding, because in many universities, directors are still not convinced that they need broadband networks. I have, for the last 20 years, I have many talks with rectors that say, why I need 100 gigabit? Maybe my traffic is only 1, so why I need to have this network? And I start explaining that research networks have nothing to do with their administrative traffic and so on, and they are supposed to serve bigger needs, projects, ambitions, and so on. But anyway, this is one issue. The second problem is the weak campus networks. Imagine you have 100 gigabits in one point, but if you can't distribute it well throughout the campus, it's useless. So, of course, most universities need stronger campus networks. So we are trying to support this process as well. For instance, some of the switches that we used before for our backbone needs, we donate to universities and say, use them in your current networks. Or even if we have more equipment, we will try to support you in any case, because this is the way to convince your users that these networks are doing something. Because, you know, 100 gigabits in one point is useless if you can't use them in the whole infrastructure. Issue number 3 with the weaknesses, of course, what was mentioned is underused GEANT services. Even with the most popular services like EduRoam, for instance, we have only 30% of our educational institutions use EduRoam. Or EduGAIN, less than 40% of our universities use EduGAIN. In most of the GEANT countries, this percentage is 100. Maybe, I don't know. I recently looked for Turkey, for Greece. They're all in 100%. So in Bulgaria, we have a lot to do about this. And of course, the last but not least problem is social apathy regarding NRNs. Most of the general public have no understanding what NRN means and why it is necessary for the development. From one point of view, we all the time speak about knowledge economy. We speak about how important it is to raise intelligence, to have data centers and so on. At the same time, we forgot that all this infrastructure needs robust backbone in order to run properly. Let's move to the threats. Of course, one of the threats is financial collapse of this. Speaking frankly, you know that our association has absolutely zero government funding. All our income comes from membership of our universities. So the moment some of the universities delay their payments, we delay the payments to the operators that give us list times, we don't buy equipment and so on. And this is, like if you don't pay for your electricity, normally the operator switches you off. So every month we pray that we have the money on time to pay for the operators or to buy the equipment and so on. Especially this year is very crucial because for the project we have to list many new lines connected with the new topology. At the same time, we still are not ready to stop leasing all the previous lines. And at the same time, we need to buy some extra equipment in order to fulfill the upgrade the proper way. So you could imagine that we have very hard times, but we rely to all of you because this is your infrastructure and of course everyone is interested this to survive. And of course we'll do our best to try to convince the government to put some extra injections on this. Even today I have a conversation with a colleague of mine who is now Deputy Minister of Ministry of Innovation. And when I told him about our network and what we do, he said, "Are you sure that we don't have any support from the government?" I said, "Believe me, for the last 20 years, this is zero." So it was very strange, and he promised to speak to his minister, but at the same time, this is an ongoing problem in Bulgaria because, we have elections so often that most of the ministers simply could not understand what the problem is. As I told you, in the Ministry of Education, I had a period that I have one minister every couple of months. Like, every week I'm calling to say, okay, who is the minister this week? Please tell me, because I don't know. It's crazy, but it was the reality. The next threat, of course, is bad quality of lines. As you know, 100 gigabits is not like 1 gigabit. It requires better lines. Sometimes we have to change some of the lines, repair it. And this is, hopefully in Sofia, we solved all the problems so far. We still don't know about the country. The other threat is poor network policies. Unfortunately, many universities still implement improper network policies. I mean, for instance, they want to pass every piece of the traffic through firewall. Normally, through the firewall, worldwide, you put only your administrative traffic. No serious NRN puts the big data through firewall because it's crazy. This firewall should be 10 times more expensive than the whole network if you want to monitor every bit and byte. I will really encourage our colleagues from GEANT to make an online seminar in the nearest future explaining how they solve this problem, because firewalling big data is nonsense. It's never happening and should not happen never in the network. But it's again a problem, and we have to solve it and put some intelligence over it. And last but not least, brain drain of IT staff. Most of the time when we have some qualified personnel, they receive better salary from private companies, they leave universities, so we again, need to train new people. And as you know, because our whole network is based on volunteer efforts, we constantly change the people that are responsible, but at the same time, we are lucky that some of the people do not live here forever. They just, even from their new locations, try to support us, even for the implementation of some of the services and helping us develop further. So for the opportunities, let's be a little bit more positive at the end. First good opportunity is that now we officially have the right to use the state network. Because under this project, it was a problem before, but now if I have to pay, let's say, a commercial provider for a 100 gigabit channel, let's say from Sofia to Varna, it will cost us tens of thousands of euros per month, which is crazy. Nobody could afford that. At the same time, using the state network allows it to use this for free, and of course paying only the last mile, which still is very expensive, but not unaffordable as before. We have the opportunity to make 100 gigabit a standard. I think that for the research connectivity, we could provide 100 gigabit in each location. Even though we are not paying commercial traffic for so high, but for research, we could definitely allow 100 gigabit to each of our members and each of the connected institutions. Also, we want to expand the nodes because now many universities will be encouraged to use the state network, for instance, to connect their other departments all across the country. We have a positive example, for instance, with the Technical University of Sofia, who has a department in Sliven, and they requested an access, and we officially asked the Ministry of Education, who asked the Ministry of E-Governance, who allowed us officially. So now we are building this connection, and it will be available next month. And of course, we want to increase our members due to this project, because we are ready to support even institutions that were not connected before to become part of our network if they are willing to have this 100 gigabit connectivity and become part of our family. And of course, we'll be ready even to supply equipment for them based on what we already have in the net. So this is very briefly our current situation. Hopefully till the end of next month, everything will be up and running. So far only Sofia is on the map, so to say. But of course, very soon I hope that in every part of the country, people have the same access, both to GEANT, to BICS, and to all the other networks and facilities that were demonstrated today. And of course, we need more collaboration between each other in order to utilize these opportunities. So thank you, and if there is about to be discussion on Q&A, I'm ready to.
Okay, Urlin is a life history of national network, research and education network from since 1991, first step for development of this network till now. Very active.
I feel very old, you know, when you say this.
If we have any questions to Dr. Urlin Kozuf?
If no, people, please have my email, write
On
me
an
anytime,
email.
you know me.
On an
So,
email.
thank you for listening, and I'm at your disposal.
Thank you, Urlin. And with this, we finish today Info Day of GEANT. And we wish you success and many, many more activities of our Bulgarian National Research Communication Network and European one GEANT. Thank you very much for participating.